So guys, I got my hands on the full version of Need for Speed for the PC, and I wanted to make an interesting video today showcasing the PC versus the Xbox One, and just sort of compare the two graphically, gameplay-wise, content-wise, and just have a little discussion and talk about both of the games. So, first thing, before we even get into this video is going to be 60 frames per second, 1080p. However, the Xbox version only runs at 900p and 30 frames per second. I just wanted to render this video in 1080p 60 frames per second so you could get the best possible sort of view and idea of what the PC version looks like. So the PC one, obviously the one on the right, that's going to be 1080p 60 frames per second. The one on the left is going to be the Xbox One 900p 30 frames per second. Anyways, so let's get into this video, start talking about the gameplay, the content, and the differences between the two games. Well, content-wise for the two games is actually none. Well, right now there actually is some. But that's because the most recent updates for the Xbox One version of the game included Eddie's Challenge and the Snapshot feature. It included some other things as well, but those were actually taking some more time to actually get in the PC version of the game. However, instead of rushing it out, the guys over at Ghost Games decided to delay it and just sort of put them in later down the road, essentially. They should be coming in a couple of weeks, so it's nice to see that. So content-wise, in a little bit, once they're finished getting all the updates perfect and everything, the games will actually be identical and there won't be any sort of content stuff different. However, for one thing, wheels do work on the PC as of right now. We don't have any word as to wheels on the Xbox One just yet. We'll have to see sort of what happens with that. But for as of right now, wheels work on the PC. That is sort of the only difference between the two of them, other than the graphics, which I think we should get into in sort of the big one. I wanted to do a race up in the mountains, specifically, because these cars, although are quite sort of similar, they're also quite sort of different. They're quick cars. And going through the hills, especially on the Xbox One version of the game, you will see a lot of pop-in the background. You'll see a lot of trees and a lot of shadows and a lot of bushes popping in the background if you look at the mountains for a little bit. Although it doesn't really affect the way the game plays, it does get a little bit confusing and it does look a little bit weird. And on the PC, as of yet, I haven't noticed any of that. The PC is just so much more powerful than the Xbox One. It can just do a lot more with it, a lot more with the game, and I haven't noticed any of the pop-ins just yet. I still have yet to get my hands on a super quick car like the Aventador and just rip it down 200 miles an hour plus down a huge straight and just see if there's any pop-in with that. But from what I've played so far, no pop-in on the PC, and there is a lot of pop-in on the Xbox One. The other thing is sort of graphics. On the PC, you can play the game up to 4K resolution, and on the Xbox One, obviously, that's limited to 900p. If you're on the PS4, that is 1080p, so there is that as well. But the Xbox One's also going to be limited, and the PS4 as well, for that matter, is going to be limited to 30 frames per second. However, the PC, that's actually going to be unlocked. If you have a PC and a screen and everything that can do 10,000 frames per second, the game will run at 10,000 frames per second. Although quite unrealistic, you sort of get the point. My particular computer, I have 60 frames per second monitors, 60 hertz monitors, so that's the max I can do. But if you have screens that go up to 144 or even higher, I don't even know if they go higher than that, probably do. You can probably run it at some crazy stuff. So the PC is sort of just like, the way I would describe it is sort of just like the Xbox One version of the game, sort of unlocked, and you can go in and sort of play around with it a little bit more. One of the other things that I do like about the PC version, excuse me, is just you can go in, and if you don't have an Elite controller, say for your Xbox One, you can go in and actually map the buttons to your controller, which is actually really nice. So you can go in and say you're not a fan of the way the shifting works with Y being up and B being down, although you can sort of play around with presets and stuff. You can go on the PC version and make it whatever button you want. You can go in and change it to your heart's content, and you can technically do that on an Xbox One as well if you do have an Elite controller. But yeah, it sometimes messes some things up. But on the PC, works really well, works really nicely, and you can just map everything to your heart's content. And like I said, it works with wheels. You can play around with your steering wheel sensitivity. Although I had some issues setting mine up. I don't know what the issue was at home. When I tried to set my wheel up, it was sort of very jerky and very shaky around. But when I went over to Ghost Games and I played it in the studio there, the wheel worked super well, and just playing with a wheel was simply incredible. It just changed the way the game sort of played. I do want to get some sort of wheel drifting video up for you guys tomorrow. So I think I'm gonna have to go in Need for Speed, level up a little bit, and just sort of get some more parts unlocked for my car, because I'm very early on in the game, and I still have yet to get some parts. Also, one other thing I should mention is that your save doesn't transfer over from the Xbox One to the PC. I just thought I would add that in as well. Anyways, guys, those are my thoughts on the Xbox One versus the PC. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Now you guys have all of the info. Which one do you think's better? Which one would you have in an ideal situation? I think just me, I gotta go with the PC. It looks so good. If you up that thing to 4K, oh boy, that thing's pretty good. Anyways, guys, subscribe if you enjoyed. Give it a thumbs up. See you guys in the next one. The quality of the sky doesn't really match to me. Wow, we got uphill as well. That was a proper drift.